Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to do a video for you about the advantages and disadvantages of some types of RV classes that I have noticed during my travels. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I got a suggestion in the comments section and I've had it for a while, and I thought this is a perfect time for me to do this video. So I have my notes here and I'm going to go ahead and let you know what some of those things are. If you have a Class C or Class A, what are the things that I noticed are the difficulties, and we're going to talk about some other stuff there related to that.
We can travel the world, so just say yes. Choose to do whatever comes next. Just be brave and come along. I wanna do it all.
Alright, so let's get to it. Let's get to the advantages and disadvantages of each class of RV that traveled with me. And we're not going to talk just about my West Coast trip. We're going to talk also about the trip out north. Okay, so we had Pam was in an Explorer. We had Darlene was in a travel trailer. She had a truck. She was pulling it with a truck. We had Susan, who was in a Class 34-foot Class A. We had Sandy, who was in a I don't remember the size of her chateau, but I'm going to say her chateau was probably about 26 maybe. So I'm going to say 26-foot chateau, and that was a Class C. Those were the main girls who really traveled and moved with us. The trip out north to Tennessee, Jerry was in a van build, and Jerry was in a minivan, but she didn't travel too much with us. You're going to see videos of her coming up. Then we also had Glenda, who was part of the Caravans. She also came with us, and she was in a road trek. And then we had Charlotte, who came with a travel trailer, and she was pulling it with I forget the name of her car, but it was with a car. So you will see all of those videos coming up. With that said, let's get to what the differences are. So one of the first differences that I want to talk about is, well, first of all, if you haven't gone to my blog, I've been doing vlogs about the type of traveling that I do. So if you want to join the caravan, you can do whatever type of traveling you do. But if you come on to a caravan with me, I just want you to know what type of RVing that I do, because if you think that I'm the type of person that just like gets in her RV and sits in a place for 14 days, you are going to be totally disappointed, because that is not what I do at all. I'm at home, I stay put, and I work on stuff and I do stuff. Now I'm on the road, I like to move. And a lot of the girls in our caravan in my forums, they also say that they like to move, because a lot of girls are part-time, a lot of women are part-time, and when they get out, they want to be able to see things every single day. But if you go to my blog and read my blog, you're going to get more information on what I call Freestyle RV travels, and that's the way that I named it, and that's the way that I travel, and so you get some information on what that is about. But anyway, so because we're doing freestyle traveling during the West Coast trip and the northern trip, this is the stuff that I've noticed and the differences. So which basically it means that you go to the blog and you read it, it's basically moving. We're moving a lot. One of the big ones was mileage. Mileage was a big one, because with the A and the C, it seemed that they were needing to fill up more, except with the Class A, she had a bigger gas tank, so she didn't really need to fill up. If she filled up all the way to the top, I think she told me it was like $500 to fill up her gas tank. That's how big her gas tank was. So that's a big hit if you fill up all the way to the top with gasoline. But the travel trailer that Darlene had, me and Pam were traveling with her when we were heading out west, and she was filling up more than we were. Remember, we had a lot of winds heading out west, so that's going to, and a lot of elevations too, so that's going to affect her a lot. Now I do have a high vehicle, but I'm pulling it with a truck. I didn't have any water on me, so I didn't really have a lot of weight. I just had enough water to get by. Darlene was having to fill up before we had to fill up, so, and that was probably because she was pulling, and she was pulling against the wind, and all of this stuff is going to affect your travel. So she would be filling up more than us, but we'd go top off with her anyway. So she would call me and say, I have to go get gas. Of course, she's the kind of person that didn't want to go below the halfway mark, and you don't want to do that, trust me, if you go to Arizona, because there are some places that you are not going to find gas for like 100 miles, and when you do find a gas station after your 100 miles, it might be a $5 gas place. So definitely when you go out west, my recommendation is always to have your tank at least half full. When it gets to the halfway mark, fill it up again. All right, so gas was a big one with the A and the C and the pulling the travel trailer. They needed to fill up way more than me and Pam did. All right, the next one is BLM. BLM is not easy for a Class A. It's really difficult. I mean, you could do it, but certain elevations you should not be doing it at all. You should really be careful. Class A's are really not made to be on unlevel ground, and they have magnets and they have slide outs and all of this stuff that if something were to get off keel, it's going to throw everything off. So BLM, make sure that you're looking for BLM. Make sure that if you're buying a Class A, you have a good space from the bottom up so that you have clearance underneath. I know with Jerry, her van build, she has the Nissan, I think the NV200 that I did a video on. Her Nissan is pretty low to the ground. So take that into account when if you're planning on doing like BLM and be off the road, if you're going to be out west, there's a lot of roots, on the road, a lot of elevations. You're going to want an RV that's pretty good off the ground. With me, I was fine with my truck. Let's see who else was good. Pam was also, she was fine with her Explorer, and the Class C really didn't have a lot of problems, but the Class A I think was the one that she really had to be careful. I mean, she was doing it because we were smaller, so we would go ahead and we would scope out the area before she got in. And we would call her over, but we had to accommodate for her. If there was a spot that couldn't accommodate her and her size, it was done for the rest of us. So traveling with somebody who has this special accommodations that you need to meet is a problem if you're a smaller rig, and I'll talk about that in a little bit further along. But it is a big problem because now you have to accommodate to this person and their style, and their style is very different from my style, and you'll get to know that because on this northern trip, Susan left and I ended up traveling with smaller rigs, and it was amazing traveling with smaller rigs. Trust me, it was pretty nice. It was the first time that I actually did that with a couple other girls, and I really think that people should be traveling with their kind, or they have to understand that they are going to lose a little bit of freedom if you might be okay with it because you're not in a hurry. You travel and you don't necessarily have to be in one place, so you don't necessarily have to be on BLM or anything like that. So you may want to hook up with a girl who has a big RV and you're perfectly okay with it. I'm just saying that if you are going to travel with a person, you have a small rig and you're traveling with someone in Class A, this is going to throw you off your freedom that you had before. You have to try to compromise so that you're working her in too. So anyway, moving on. The other one is when we were parked as a caravan, and now of course I've learned this. There was 2 times that Susan parked her RV in the middle. So I had Pam and Sandy on one side and I was parked on the other. She parks that Class A between me and the other girls. We don't get to see each other because her Class A is so big and it blocks my view for the safety of the other girls, and it blocks the other girls' view of me. So that is a big problem. So that is one thing that I learned, that, and you're learning it today too, is if you have a big giant rig and you are traveling with other women, you should be probably the first one to park, and then everybody parks around you where they're visible to everybody. Everybody sees each other and knows what's going on, because it's just for safety concern. It's really important that you all kind of spot each other and able to see each other. And sometimes it's hard because we just had a certain amount of space, but definitely I would, at this point now in my learning, I would tell the Class A, no, you have to move, you have to go here. And I would let her park and choose her spot first, and then we work around that. Remember also that the Class A takes up more space, and the bigger your RV takes up more space, so that's less space for the other people that are traveling with you. So that is another consideration for you to have. is that the Class A is going to need more space. Also in BLM land, when you go to BLM land, the bigger you are, the harder it might be for you to find a good level spot. Sometimes, you know, for me, I was easy to find a level spot, but for the bigger girls, leveling, they would have to level off with some blocks or with their levelers or whatever. So that's something to consider. The other thing is dumping. Dumping was another situation because, see, the thing is, I have eliminated all of that, and I've traveled enough to know that I don't want to dump. The only time that I do use my black tank is when I go to an RV park. I go to an RV park, I hook up. Why not? I'm paying for it anyway. I might as well use it. You know what I'm saying? But my travel is about moving. I'm moving and moving. I don't want to have to travel 12 miles out of my way to go find a dump that might be broken, and you have to call them ahead of time. So traveling with somebody that it needs to dump is very time consuming, because this person is traveling with you, and now she'll tell you, oh, I have to go dump, and you're like, okay, so now we got to find this place. But my lesson for all of you in this is, because this one was a big lesson, and you'll see it coming up in a video, is you have to be at the point with the people you are traveling with to say, okay, 3 o'clock, we're parked here. You need to find a place to dump. If you need to dump, you need to do it either now, when we're all stopped, go find a place around here, or you need to do the research. And the research is not just about finding the place and then tomorrow handing it over to the squad leader and saying, here, on the way, we need to go to this. No. You need to get with the people, because it has to be on route. Nobody wants to go out of their way for you to go dump. This is the other thing, especially when you have a 75-gallon water tank and you're having to dump every 5 days. That, to me, is a problem. Because we had this situation, if you're taking showers every day, if you're just watering, you're not saving your water, and you're not sparing your water. You can do that when you're on your own, but when you're traveling with smaller rigs that are especially not doing none of this stuff and they don't need to go to the dump, that is a huge problem, because now you're constantly stopping the caravan from moving, or the girls from moving and enjoying their day because they have to go dump. So my suggestion, what I learned from that, is tell the person, look, you need to go dump, you need to do that on your off time. That means when we're parked for the day, you do your research, you find a place. Okay, let's say that the next day she didn't find around there, so the next day she's got to find a place. Okay, no problem. This is where we're headed to. Here is the address, and this is where we'll be, and we can meet up there later. That way you can get all your stuff done, and we will meet up there at the end of the day. You know, we can communicate. If we find something else, if we decide to go somewhere else, we can communicate through the app. We can communicate through the phone. But those are some of the lessons that I've learned now moving forward, because I really don't have the time to go with somebody to a dump. Not only that, but the problem is, and you saw it in my video with Susan, that she would say to me, oh, there's a pilot, let's pull in there. And of course I was doing it with her in the beginning. This is how I learned. So I'd pull in there with her, and then I'd be sitting waiting. I'd be on my phone doing some stuff. But remember, I don't get time back in life. My time is for me to do stuff. Yes, I can make compromises. So time is important for me. I don't have time to waste going from this pilot to that pilot to that pilot in the day on the way there. I want to get to my destination. I have too much stuff that I have to do, and I just don't have time for that. So the problem is, you got to the pilot and either they didn't have clean water, or their dump was broken, or whatever thing. So this is why now I put the responsibility on the other person and say, well, if you need to go dump tomorrow, you need to make phone calls. You need to call. If there's a dump on our route, you need to call them and say, are you open? What do you charge? Is it broken? Everything. You need to do the legwork, because I'm not going to do it for you. You understand? I don't have to dump unless just don't dump. Then if you don't want to do all of this, then just don't dump. So you will see a big problem that I had with Susan because of that later on coming up. Alright, so definitely dumping was a big issue, which shouldn't really be an issue, because if you have 75-gallon Class A, you should be conserving water like everybody else. That should run you at least 2 weeks before you have to dump. So the consideration of others using their tank is a big issue, and this could actually be an advantage or a disadvantage, where if you do decide to use your tank, it could be an advantage because you have a 75 gallons, so you could go for 10 days and it might not be a problem. So you have that advantage that you have a big tank, and even though you don't want to do like the other girls by, you know, throwing baggies out and whatever, you can still go for 10 days. So that depends. This one is, you choose if it's an advantage or a disadvantage. That just depends on the person and what they want to do. Another thing that I did discover on this trip, which I'm really sad, it's even, if I've even gotten to the point to even think, I know I'm going to say it here, I'm even thinking in the future that I'm going to end up selling this combination and getting myself like an RV. And I'm looking into, I did film it. I don't want to give it away. There is an RV that I fell in love with, a brand, and I will do the video coming up because I filmed it out west and I just haven't posted it because I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that I did love that RV a lot. I thought it was perfect for me, and I'll tell you why. I've never been a slide out person. I don't like slide outs. I learned from Sandy something really important. Sandy had the Class C and she had 2 slide outs, one on each side. When she opened the two, she opened the slide out, it was huge, and all the girls can gather in there, which was super awesome that we could do that. Especially when we had like a campfire planned and then we couldn't do the campfire because of winds or rain, and we already had things planned. We can go in there and have a meal between all of us. So that is one thing that I really am sad about with this RV, because my space is so small. I can't have 3 of us fit in the dinette. 3, maybe squishing 4. That's about it. I really can't have a group of women in here. That's the only reason that I like that other RV. But I'll tell you one thing. The thing that I learned from her is she didn't open her slide out. She never opened her slide out. Her RV was totally livable with the slides in. The only time she opened her slide out was when we gathered like that. So I got this idea. I said, you know what? That is so wonderful because I only have to open the slide out when I need it. So I saw one model of RV by chance that I fell in love with. It's a B+, by the way. It's a B. It's not a Class C. It's a B+. And I just fell in love with the model. I fell in love with the whole setup. And that video is coming, so stay tuned for that. It will be on this channel. And that is the only model of RV that I would sell this RV for that. The other reason why I thought of doing away with the truck camper is because my situation is that I can't cool or heat my RV because I need a boot, and I don't really know if I want to trust a boot. I'm going to try in this year. I'm going to try to buy a boot for this truck camper so that I can see if I can have that open when I'm driving, so Misty can come in and out, or my air conditioner can cool the RV, or my heater can heat the RV before I actually get in here, because it's a big problem for me. I've noticed that that's a problem for me. The other thing was getting out to go to the bathroom. The other girls, you know, with the van, with the Class A, with the Class C, none of the girls had to get out to go to the bathroom, but I did. For me, I was planning when I had to go to the bathroom, but if we had to stop on the road, on the side of the road, you know, it's dangerous to come out on the side of the road, and I noticed that, and I thought, I don't like that either. So 2 things. One, I don't like having to get out of my RV. That is something that what bothers me. And then the other thing that bothers me is the fact that I don't have the possibility of a slide out. I mean, you could get a truck camper with a slide out, but remember, a camper with a slide out, you're going to need a bigger truck to pull that, because that is going to be way heavier. So for me, if I decided to get a truck camper in the future with a slide out, I would have to get rid of my truck also. I might as well just sell the whole thing as once. So that is what's going on with that. The other thing that I noticed also was the generator. This is another thing. I would not get an RV without a generator ever again. I did that going out west when I traveled with Mike and Christian. We did bring a generator with us, and I kept it in the truck on that trip out west when we went to Colorado. And it was just a super pain in the butt to turn on the generator on the truck and have to fill it up at the top, all of this stuff. It is so wonderful now that I have a generator on board. My generator is propane. So this is one thing that I did want you to know, is that I love the fact that the truck camper, that is one plus, that is propane. my 2 tanks, because I have solar, my 2 tanks that I have for propane is now completely for running the generator. And I am in love with running my generator. I don't have to do hardly any service to my generator like some of the girls have had problems. Actually, on this trip, we had Pam and Glenda had problems with their gasoline generators, their Road Trek and their Explorer, because you have to be maintaining, the gasoline lines get clogged. I don't have that problem with my propane. One thing that I loved, I just have to open my propane, turn on the switch, and man, I was cooling with the air conditioner, and it's just so lovely to have a generator. Honestly, I wasn't using it a lot in the past, but I tell you that right now I am in love with the fact that I have a generator, and I do use it. And we'll talk more about that in the future when I talk about the generator. But for me, an onboard generator it's a must. I will not be traveling again without having an onboard generator. So if you're looking for something, it's going to cost you more, but an onboard generator is going to save your butt in a heartbeat. So the advantages are the Class C, the Class A, and the truck camper all have, and the B plus all have the ability to have a generator, where the travel trailer is not. Number 2, another thing I want to tell you is, yes, you could attach a generator to the outside of your travel trailer, which is fine. A lot of people do that. We actually had a situation with one of the girls coming up who drove a travel trailer. But the problem is, I'm going to be honest with you, I think that you can do that at a Walmart. Let's say you're hot and you want to park your RV and turn on the generator during the day. I don't have a problem with it, and I think it's fine if you're in Walmart and you park way in the back and you have your generator and you plug it in to your travel trailer because it's already outside. What I do have a problem with is when you go to Cracker Barrel and I do that. I think that it's trashy to be in a restaurant, in an actual restaurant like Cracker Barrel, and have your generator sitting outside, outside in the parking lot, and you're running it. To me, I think it looks trashy. I think it's disrespectful. I don't think it's right. This is why I think an onboard generator, for a woman especially, is the next best thing, because you don't have to pull it out. You don't have to put it on the floor. You don't have to go out there with gas tanks. This is a show at a Cracker Barrel that you're going to be doing. And these people are just coming there for have dinner. They're kind enough to let us have an RV spot. So I don't think that it's proper for you to be doing that. It's my opinion. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think? I think it's fine at the Walmart way in the back. You can do something like that. It just kind of blends in towards the back. People expect it because we have trucks and semis over there. But truly, at a Cracker Barrel, that is not something that I think looks good, and I think it's disrespectful to the store to be running a generator like that out there. Okay, so now we talked about travel trailer and no generator. That's a disadvantage. We already talked about the size. Size is a big problem when you're looking for spaces, especially in some state parks. If you're going to a campground, you have to be a certain size. So if you're traveling with somebody who's 34 feet, she's just under it. But some places, honestly, I saw state parks where it says 22 feet is 25 feet. 30 feet is the biggest. So when you're traveling with somebody, you might not be able to get a reservation to that campground because of your friend or whoever is with you. So definitely space is the problem also. One of the other disadvantages also that I wanted to talk about was turning. Turning with the Class A is really difficult, and a long Class C is also another thing that's difficult. Sometimes you might have to make a U-turn, and the places that you're at are going to make it super hard to make a U-turn. Whereas for me, I have a small RV. Anybody that has an Explorer or Road Trek, a build out type of van type of thing, Class B, you can pretty much make a turn anywhere. I mean, even on a road that's empty, but it's going to be super hard for you to do it with a Class A or a big Class C. And with a trailer, even worse, because some places you really can't make your turn there. So I'm going to say that probably turning is another disadvantage of having a large, and it's always about the large size. And the other problem about traveling with somebody with a size like that also is I can turn pretty much anywhere. And most of the girls that are traveling with me that have small RVs can. But when we're traveling with somebody that's coming behind us in a large rig, now we have to compromise for that person. And we may have to drive, and this has happened to us, we may have to drive 3, 4, 5 miles down the road just to be able to find a place suitable for this person to turn around. So you spend money on gas, you waste money on gas, you waste mileage on things like that. Whereas if you have a smaller rig, you're able to conserve, be a little bit more conservative, be a little bit more budget friendly for you. But take into consideration, if you're traveling with somebody like that, these things happen. So you want to be able to compromise and understand that, you know, you have to be willing to drive with them so you can help them, because there may be a wider area but not exactly the kind of place where they can make one whole turn. So you being with them, now you can actually help in helping them turn around, where you can stop the traffic from coming. So having traveling with somebody with a smaller rig can help you a lot if you have a large rig, because they can do things like that for you. Just like the video where we were coming down the mountain, and one of the Pam was able to go ahead of everybody else because she had the smallest rig, and she was able to go down first and make sure that she cleared the way for us if anybody was coming. The same thing with Jerry on this trip. If you saw, when we got to the recreation area, there was a road, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go on that road. There was a lot of trees, and I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to get to the point that I was going to have to hit my RV. So when you have a big RV and you're traveling with women who have small RVs or vans or things like that, it's always wise to let them go first so they can scout out the area and then let you know if it's okay for you to travel in there or not. You shouldn't be putting your RV through places that you're not sure about. You shouldn't be going through places like that. The advantages is, if you are with somebody, they can help you. If you are with somebody like that, it's a disadvantage because now you have to compromise. But you know, it all depends. Okay, sorry about that. We're back because my little SD card got full, so we're almost finished with this video. So anyway, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was security, and this is an important one because I know that all RVs are expensive. I know they cost money. I know that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a person with money when you have a Class A, but I will say this, that once you travel with somebody that has a pretty fancy RV, you are traveling with somebody who is susceptible to security risks because of that. And you need to understand that, especially if you're driving an older RV and you don't really have those kind of things that you have to worry about. Once you're driving with somebody who has something a little bit fancier, newer, fancier, all those types of things, you have to take that into consideration, because you're an easier target that people could be watching because they know that they think that you have money. Basically, that's the way it is, especially in turbulent times the way that we're living in now. It's also a problem, security, for somebody who has a big RV like that. Or if you're traveling around, like I have my truck is like all dented up with hail marks on it, and you know, most people are going to look at that and think, oh, some guy lives in there, some hillbilly guy lives in there or whatever, and here I am, it's all pink inside, you know what I'm saying? So what you see on the outside is what people kind of have a perspective of who you are. So take that into account. If you are traveling like me, like a hillbilly, and then all of a sudden you're traveling with somebody who has this fancy rig, and it can draw attention to certain people or different things. So with that said, thank you for watching. That's the end of my video for today. These are the things that I thought are the disadvantages. If there's anything that you want to know, if you want to ask me, let me know and I will answer it for you down in the comments. And I'm sure that other people would love to read your comments as well, see your questions as well, and then they could learn a little bit more from reading them. So I thank you for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Have a wonderful and lovely day. God bless. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Have you ever dreamed of traveling but don't necessarily want to be alone? Well, now you can join the Ghost Squad Caravans. It's not part of a club, but of a nomadic community where uncommitted bonds are formed. where cliques with clubs can form and introverts or newbies to the group can feel left out. We are different. By connecting with other women during your travels, you can enjoy the uncommitted lifestyle that nomadic traveling provides, with an opportunity for you to fellowship, explore, share adventure, and sit with good company. Ghost Squad Caravans are here to give you a place within a space. This is your life, your choice. Make it your best season yet. We provide emergency contacts, mentoring, support, group connection, and the ability to share those connections. Ability for you to locate your pals and connect with new ones. Encourage, inspire, but most of all to love with godly love within the nomadic lifestyle.